What is going on, guys? It's Hal, and we finally have some feedback from a lot of the different Genshin Impact surveys you guys may have had pop up inside of Genshin Impact. A lot of them dealing with the things that a lot of players are complaining about. And one of them obviously being the resin change. Is it going to save the resin system in Genshin Impact? Is it going to be a big increase to how we go about playing Genshin with the resin system? And I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say it will for a couple of things. It's going to make a couple of things a lot easier to do. These things should have never been this way in the first place. And the response is to this one right here. I never have enough original resin, which makes it difficult to complete various daily tasks and the weekly Battle Pass mission. This was a big deal because the Battle Pass, if you are doing it, the weekly mission requires you to use more resin than what you can actually obtain without refreshing it in some way, either with the resin item or with Primogems. It just took too much. It just took too much resin to complete, and the daily mission for using resin was more resin than what you could use in one sitting. If you logged into Genshin Impact, you wanted to play it just to do the dailies a little bit, you only have 120 resin there in your resource pool, and you needed to use more than that to do the daily mission, which I do believe is 150. So the changes that they're going to implement in 1.1, this is all they're doing for right now. They're going to reduce the requirement of the resin used per week from 1,600 resin to 1,200 resin. That's a big plus because this no longer means that you need to refresh a whole bunch of extra resin there per week to even hit that mission requirement, which is a big deal because that's a lot of Battle Pass EXP per week that you either had to pay with Primogems or forcibly use your resin refresh items as you're going about your business and playing Genshin Impact. So that was a change that was a necessary change, and it had to be changed, and I'm glad to see that one. The second one here as well is a nice quality of life change. The cap is going to go up from 120 to 160 resin. This means that, you know, you haven't played Genshin Impact all day, you come home from work, you just want to sit down, you want to do your daily resin stuff real quickly. Right? Maybe you're busy, you're going out with your friends, your party, going out with your wife, whatever it is, and you want to spend that 5 minutes, knock out your daily quest, knock out some things that cost resin. You're going to have 160 cap now, so you can be able to log in, sit down one time, spend that 150 resin on whatever it is that you want, and you're going to be able to do that daily mission. Before, you couldn't do that, right? You'd have to come in, sit down, you'd use the 120, and then if you wanted to do it right away, you'd have to refresh in some way, which was a little bit suspect. Both of these were very suspect by me. If you've been on the twitch.tv site, my channel, twitch.tv/house, we've talked about that a lot. I'm sure you've heard it from other places as well if you're new to the channel. These two things definitely needed to be changed. However, what we didn't see here in this response is the response to the accumulation of resin. Right now, these fixes right now do not handle the I'm out of resin sort of situation, or the situation where it costs resin to just level your characters. You do get enough of the EXP books as you're playing Genshin Impact originally, right? You can level up characters. You might get enough for like 1 or 2 characters to hit the 80, 1 or 2 characters, maybe 3 characters to get the 70. But after you hit those like 5 characters, those 4 or 5 characters as you're progressing through the game, you're gonna actually run out of EXP books normally. You're not going to be able to get them. The chests are scarce, and what you're left to do is now you have the option between spending original resin on getting more EXP books, and the ratio to resin spent in EXP books you get is terrible. It's just, honestly, it's awful. It's 20 resin, you get like maybe 6 of the mid-tier books and like 3 to 4 of the high-tier books, and it's not even enough to you have to spend a bunch of resin to just get a couple levels on your character. And if you're looking at the opportunity to cost spending the resin there to maybe get a half a level on a character for 20 resin, or maybe, you know, maybe get some of the materials you need to upgrade the character's weapons, or maybe spending that resin on the stuff for your talents, or spending the resin on maybe, you know, your AR-45. Now you can start getting legendary artifacts guaranteed, or you're 40 and you're reaching the end game and you want to try to get some artifacts, even though it's still RNG on if you get the 5-star artifacts to drop there. Artifacts and talents and stuff versus half a level in EXP per run, it's terrible. It's a terrible thing out there, and obviously you have to spend 20 resin if you want some more on it as well. And those things really need to be looked at. The EXP books in the Regin situation I think is a pretty big problem in the game when players are trying to level up different characters. And why would I want to pull for a new character if it's going to cost me a bunch of resin to go forcibly get those EXP books? It really disincentivizes me from trying to pull a new character. From you looking at it from the perspective of the company in this situation, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense because the EXP situation is just it's a borderline absurd if you've been playing the game for a while, especially considering, right, EXP for monsters that you defeat in the game it's awful. It's a terrible thing. You get like 14 EXP from defeating monsters. We were talking about that, and it would take you, it's like 67 hours or something to just get one level if you did nothing but 67 hours. That's a ton of time in that situation. So I think what this sort of fixes is the whole like I need to spend my resin right away situation, but it does not fix the I'm out of resin sort of situation. I don't know how they're designing their thing, but there are some problems. Like once you get there, if you're not there yet, right, leveling up, you know, the resin situation is pretty okay, and it's not like awful right at end game, but it's like it's the resin situation, right? Maybe just a little bit decreased cost for some of the stuff for domains, but I think it really kind of like is super kind of tied in with the EXP situation. The more situation a little bit, but the EXP situation is sort of part of the problem with the resin situation. You really can't level those characters up if you're trying to do, you know, Abyss like 10, 11, 12, trying to get your characters higher up, trying to get their talents leveled up. And I understand that that's like the super end game stuff and it's the only stuff left to do in the game. But when you can only do so many things a day and it feels kind of bad between like picking a couple levels on a character or picking the chance to get higher tier talents or better weapons or maybe some artifacts for your characters that you're really invested in. You're kind of torn in two different places there. And if they could kind of separate that line between getting EXP and getting stats and talents and gear increases and artifact increases for your characters, they could split that in half and make it easier to get EXP in other ways not tied to resin, then the resin situation might become even better than what it is right now. That would definitely be a plus in the long term. But also this doesn't talk about the energy regeneration. 1 resin every 8 minutes. Even by like traditional mobile game gacha game standards, that is exceptionally slow. Like most games are between 3 to 5 minutes. This one is 8 minutes. That's a different sort of thing, especially since this isn't your traditional gacha game. So we'll have to see if there's any more changes to the resin system there. Some other changes they talked about. Filtering artifacts, they're working on that so you can filter artifacts easier. Changing keybinds is a big one for me personally. I can't wait for that to be coming out. Part of it's going to be coming out 1.1, but not all of it there for you guys. And they're going to implement this thing where you can set up your own teleport waypoint, which is going to be cool. I'm pretty sure that is like an item that you use and it stays there for like a week and you can have it as a teleport point to go wherever it is that you want. But those are going to be the big updates on the resin system. This one is not going to be changing the game in the grand hope and scope that we were all hoping for that it would. But it is definitely a step in the right direction, especially with the battle pass changes. That it just felt really not good. It was not a good look. Like, how are you gonna do the battle pass but force people to pay in some way to make sure they could do the battle pass or do it in one sitting? So that's gonna be a nice change, but there's no like big change to the resin system overall. So this is not gonna be like the huge bump up there that everyone was really hoping for. So with that being said, guys, thanks for coming and hanging out. If you want to see more Genshin Impact content on YouTube or whatever channel information, you can find that here as well. And then until the next one, guys, I'll see you and stay safe.